Hey everybody, my name is Lynn and I am the owner of Typewriter the Hamster. We are absolutely in love with our hamster, and I've had Typewriter now for at least a month. So I thought what I would do is come to you with my own personal experience and reasons that I think having a hamster is either a good or a bad idea. The first pro of having a hamster is that they are adorable and cute. If you love little furry creatures, you will never get tired of watching a hamster when they are out foraging, burrowing, and playing and eating. That said, you cannot make a decision based on the fact that they are cute in and of itself, which leads me to the first con of having a hamster. While they are considered by many people to be nocturnal, they actually come out at different times. It's not necessarily strictly nocturnal, but they do spend a lot of time sleeping during the day. We rarely see Typewriter during the day. Fortunately for us, we are night owls, so we stay up late and we usually interact with Typewriter late in the evening. I mean, sometimes it's even 1 or 2 in the morning. We sit on the edge of the bed and look straight ahead at the large cage and just watch her. We give her little snacks. You know, that's our time to interact with Typewriter. Sometimes Typewriter is still awake when we get up, so that's another time that I might interact with her, and this is like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. If I am cleaning her cage out, if I am adding things to her cage or doing anything like that, maybe cleaning out her sandbox or cleaning up her wheel that she runs in, she will come out and see what's going on. I never just lift her house up and like, hey, come out, because that's very stressful for the hamster. But we do sometimes see her during the day. So a recap on that, they're very cute, but don't make your decision solely on that. You may not see them as much as you think you will during the daytime hours. The second pro to owning a hamster is that they are small animals. Now, this doesn't mean that they belong in a tiny, tiny little cage. A lot of people are misinformed from the outset by well-meaning or maybe not well-meaning employees in pet stores. If you have a table that will accommodate a large tank, aquarium, something deep enough for the hamster to burrow in and have some room to run, to me, that's still small. That's a lot smaller than having to have enough room for a dog to run, say, or a couple of cats. You wouldn't be able to keep cats or dogs in a large breeder tank, but my hamster Typewriter is in a 40-gallon breeder tank and she loves it. I still want to give her something bigger. I'm thinking a mansion. But for now, she has adequate space for her size. So the second con to that is that you may go into this with a false idea that because they're tiny, you can use a tiny cage. Make sure from the very start that you research what size cage is needed, that you think about the surrounding atmosphere. We went with a breeder tank with a fitted lid where Typewriter can get air, but our cats cannot reach their hands, through cages, paws, through the cages and, really scare Typewriter or hurt her. So think about that. The more you put into that initial decision as far as cage, getting adequate space, the better experience it's going to be for you if it's for you, or for your child if it's for your child. The third pro, and this may be just my opinion, but I feel like they are very low maintenance pets. They don't need to be walked. They're not going to bark all night. Now, you may have them in the wheel that makes some noise, but to me, they're low maintenance compared to other animals that I've had. Basically, with Typewriter, we've got this very large cage. I put a lot of bedding in. It's at least, 5 to 6 inches deep in many places so that she can burrow. And because I'm using high quality bedding and a lot of it, the cage does not build up an odor quickly. In fact, you shouldn't change every bit of their bedding every week. I typically clean once a week, and I do parts of the cage, like especially around her house, because she has a certain little place where she goes to the bathroom, and around the water container on the side because it drips sometimes. I clean up in that area, and around her sandbox, she will occasionally use the bathroom around that area. So I keep that cleaned up. But I would say, like, over the course of a month, all of the bedding gets changed, but it's in spots. I consider that low maintenance. It's much easier than daily scooping a litter box. It's much easier than walking a dog morning and night. On the flip side of that, so maybe we will call it a con, and this is number 3. You may go into a small pet ownership with the idea that no maintenance is required. I am mortified when I look back and think about the tiny cage that my daughter's guinea pig had and hamster. We had different small pets when the kids were growing up, and I thought we were doing the right thing. The pet store employee told us, oh yeah, this little cage is great. This is all they need. And of course, it was probably a high dollar, name brand, plasticky, bright, fun thing that appealed to kids. And the small animals really had no place to run. I feel terrible about that. So there is some maintenance required. You know, you don't want to buy a little pet and think just because they're small that they're disposable. I love Typewriter so much, and she brings me so much joy, even just looking at her beautiful cage. You know, when the bedding is clean and bright, and, you know, she's got her little sandbox, and I see the wheel there, and I see all of these natural treats and like dried herbs and flowers. It's really just a beautiful thing to look at, to know that you've got a small animal. They're in a place that makes them happy. It makes you happy. And I tell you, if your child does want a small pet, you are doing yourself and them a favor if you teach good stewardship from the start and go ahead and tell them, either if you're footing the bill or if you're making them save their money, let's get what's right to start with. I think it makes everything easier every step of the way. The 4th pro of having a hamster, in my opinion, is that, relatively speaking, I think they're low cost. You're not taking them in for immunizations. You know, they've already been monitored in the pet store, and getting one from a pet store is a whole different issue. Some people don't like to buy from pet stores. Some people do like to buy from pet stores because they feel like they're rescuing the animals from, you know, less than optimal environments. But they've already been monitored for a time and they seem to be healthy, so you don't have to buy the pet and then go right to the vet in most cases. At the very beginning, a month ago, I bought a bag of pellets that I believe was less than $10. And you watch the sales at your different pet stores. And I was very careful to keep feeding Typewriter what she was used to, and then little by little introduce new things like an herbal mix, different seeds, putting the tiniest bit of peanut butter on her wooden blocks to get her to chew. I did not want to upset her system right away. But that bag of pellets has lasted almost a whole month. So we're talking very small animals. They love to hoard food, but they're not going to be eating a big bowl of dog food 2 times a day, if you get my drift. Again, the flip side of that, if we're going to name another con, is going into this thinking that just because they're small, they're not going to cost anything. And it is a good idea to keep in mind that small animals like this can need veterinary care, and it's a good idea to have a little bit put aside in case that happens. The 5th reason that I think having a hamster is such a good idea is that it is a pet. It is something to love. I used to love to read things by Charlotte Mason, and she was an educator around the Victorian era, late Victorian era, and she said that every child needs something to love. I do think that's true. So having a hamster is having a pet, and you can get all of the benefits of having a pet with a hamster. You can learn stewardship. It's very calming to watch an animal in like a natural sort of environment. It's a way to learn about a particular animal. Read up on it, learn about what they like, what they need. And this could be a great experiment and experience too if you're looking for information regarding getting a hamster for your child. On the flip side of that, I do want you to remember that a hamster is not like every other pet. Again, we don't see our hamster a lot during the daytime because she's in her house, burrowed in her little nest that she makes asleep. So that is something to consider if you have a child who is thinking that they're going to have a hamster who's going to be active all day and out. And hamsters are solitary. So it will be more than likely just the one little hamster in the adequate cage that you've got, and the interaction is going to be on pretty much the pet's terms, not your terms. That is something huge to consider. It's also important to consider that hamsters are awake during the night. We hear Typewriter sometimes on her wheel when she gets in there and runs, but it doesn't bother either one of us. It doesn't wake me up at all. My partner, if he hears it, he says it doesn't bother him at all either. So we're both fine with it. It is something to consider, though, if you're thinking about this for yourself and you're a light sleeper who does not like noise in the middle of the night, or if you're thinking about getting this for a child and it will be in their room where it could wake them up through the night. I'm definitely still learning myself about these beautiful, wonderful creatures. I will share more as I learn more. I will share more projects for Typewriter's Cage, things that we find that we absolutely love. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you get a hamster, I hope you enjoy your hamster as much as we love our little Typewriter. I will see you later. Bye-bye.